For today's panel, I just want to become informal and kick it off with just introductions. So Edison, I'm gonna first start with you since you're all the way on my left of the screen. So if you can introduce yourself, which company you're from, and then maybe if you can also hit on your company's sustainability goals as well at a high level. It doesn't have to go very in depth.
Thank you very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we're very excited with this opportunity now in São Paulo. We participated in other plug and play partnerships with the Alliance in other places. Well, I'm in charge of our Braskem olefins and polyolefins business in South America, which includes all our efforts towards plastics circular economy. Braskem, since the beginning of its existence in 2002, has been focusing on sustainability. So just to give an example, today over 70% of the energy we use is from renewable sources. And we have been working in reducing intensity of energy, of carbon, increasing the reuse of water, working on reducing waste generation and liquid effluents in our processes. This is, I would say, I would call this our homework, right? But our intentions is really to give and to influence our markets towards circularity, towards mitigating the impact of what is happening today in terms of greenhouse gases effect and reaching carbon neutrality towards 2050 with an intermediate goal of reducing our CO2 footprint in 2030 by 15%. We've been working very hard on those initiatives to divert waste from landfills, from incinerators, from the environment, of course, and we have a target to have an active initiatives to divert 1.5 million tons of plastic on an annual basis towards 2030 in order to accomplish the projects that we have today. And we have been part also of several voluntary commitments in the industry in several regions, for instance, in terms of sustainable packaging, right? To have them 100% recyclable until 2045.
Fantastic. Daniel, I'd like to hand over to you if you want to introduce yourself and your company.
Thank you, Matt. Well, my name is Daniel Gomez. I'm part of the circular economy team in Essentia. Well, just like Braskem, I believe we are all working in the plastic industry. We're kind of doing the most or less the same things. We are increasing the efficiency of how we produce the different resins we are involved in, and that is saving water, indeed, taking the feedstock into the most effective process, and that way reducing the waste involved in there. And we are focusing more, I would say, upon what we can do towards the consumer. We have the purpose of talking about a sustainable use of plastics, which from our point of view is kind of difficult in the sense that we produce a resin, but we're not close to the final consumer. And in that way, we are concentrating all our efforts to be able to talk with the final consumer, to be able to help them reduce the plastic waste, avoid whatever contamination there is about it, and of course, putting together some initiatives of collecting that plastic waste and putting it back into the market and closing the loops with different initiatives, mostly right now working with mechanical recycling and other initiatives which we saw in this presentations could actually work, because we see that sometimes, well, mechanical recycling is not going to be the final solution, but actually trying to put together materials into construction or different markets, or being able to sort out different contaminations that we may be able to find, which is part of all this process that we're seeing. And that is kind of what we're living right now as part of our sustainability goals in the company.
Fantastic. Lastly, Steve, if you'd like to introduce yourself and maybe the reason behind you joining and working for the Alliance directly.
Sure thing, Matt. Thank you and welcome everybody. My name is Steve Secra, and my current role with the Alliance is Vice President and Head of the Americas. Prior to this role, I spent over a year in Singapore helping Jacob and the team start up our leadership team. And I come to the Alliance after a career with the Procter & Gamble company. And I think that's really relevant for us because it helped me with a background on understanding the plastic waste problem, developing relationships on a global basis, and really seeing the need to come together across the supply chain, working with members such as Edison at Braskem and Daniel at Essentia and others, including non-members, to deliver the vision for the Alliance, which is simply to help end plastic waste in our environment. We have 3 mission elements within the Alliance. The first one is to simply demonstrate and deploy solutions to end waste in the environment. The second is doing that in a collaborative way with members and non-members across the entire value chain. We know when we work collaboratively with others, we'll get more done. And third, and a vital component of what we do is we want to de-risk and demonstrate a return on investment such that these programs can be sustainable over time. We know when there's a business behind this and there's an economic that can support the proposition, we'll make the largest impact. So very happy to be here today and very happy to represent the Alliance and look forward to success coming out of Plug and Play and in a very important geography in Latin America, particularly with our members and with people on the ground who can come to us with solutions because they know it and they see it every day.
Thank you so much, Steve. So I kind of want to go off of Steve's point and turn it back over to you, Edison. So the Alliance is a newer organization, and you know it's pretty incredible to see how many companies have come together. And I know Braskem is one of the founding members of the Alliance. So I'd love to hear what was Braskem's kind of motivation to be one of these founding members, and what does it mean to you to have this program now essentially coming home and you're making an impact in São Paulo, but also in Latin America as a whole?
Okay. Well, Matt, I would tell you that tackling this issue on circularity and on plastic waste is something that I would say normally people simplify the problem, but we are dealing here with something that is very complex, right? Because sometimes it's very easy to tackle the waste by banning a solution, but it's very hard to see the impacts on all the other impacts of that banning, right? So you can ban something in order to improve waste management, but you may cause other kind of problems in terms of water consumption, energy consumption, CO2 emissions, and so on. So this is something that is very complex and it's very hard to measure. And solutions will not come from an individual or for one single company, but from the whole chain working together. And solutions will be very different and will diverge from one region to another. So I would say joining efforts to work together for me is something that will be key in looking for solutions for the plastic waste issue. So joining the Alliance for me is something that makes a lot of sense because by far I see it as the most ambitious and the most well-structured initiative. We have several nice initiatives in the industry on a global basis, and we partner also in some others that are more regional, more local, or more focused in any specific problem. But I think this is by far the most ambitious initiative in the industry. And it's not a petrochemical effort or I would say a plastic conversion industry effort. Is an effort that wants to engage the whole chain. So for me, this is something that makes a difference. And as Steve said, for instance, today we have a great activity on Procter & Gamble and on other other companies that are basically, I would say, the customers, not the end users, but I would say the last companies in the plastic chain. So it's very important to have their feedback and to join efforts to find those solutions. Regarding plug and play, I would say we have had many positive experiences with open innovation and with bringing partnerships into our system to look for solutions. Just to give an example, we have been working on a challenge, on a hackathons on the design for environment with companies like Colgate, Kimberly-Clark, Boticario, BRF, which are companies that are very relevant in our markets here, in some globally, some here in our markets in Latin America. And we have been very successful in bringing all this effort coming from startups, coming from the academia, and so on. And we also have other initiatives with plug and play. We know how it works. We have initiatives with plug and play in the digital field and in other aspects. We have participated in our efforts with the Alliance in other countries. So I'll tell you, at the same time, we are launching the regional group for the Alliance in South America. So I think it all comes together. It's a perfect match between what we are living with the Alliance, the experiences we have, and now the opportunity to bring this to São Paulo.
Thank you so much for that. And Daniel, maybe same question to you. What does it mean for, this is now our fifth regional hub to bring this to São Paulo to represent Latin America?
Yeah, we were kind of missing it and expecting it. We have been in contact with you and in Plug and Play and with the Alliance and saying, well, we are very interested. We have seen a lot of very impressive startups with very nice solutions that we have been in contact with some of them. We have been trying to construct some projects and also trying to partnership with them in other kind of business propositions that we are working in. And we see that this, of course, great to work with companies in the United States and in Europe, in Southeast Asia, but we wanted it locally. Of course, we are a local player, and as Braskem, we wanted that, and we saw that there's a lot of potential. We know that. We have also done a lot of open innovation challenges, and we say, well, this is a great opportunity to put all those efforts coming into Sao Paulo.
May have lost him.
And
there we go.
Which we believe this is something that has to be done by all the companies, and great to partnership in different ideas, because we also believe that there are different solutions for the same problems that we are facing here in other areas, and we may be able to bring them here and actually kind of give a lot more potential into what we're looking for in the Alliance.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniel. And Steve, you know, kind of same question for you, but I'd like to also add, what are some of the trends or I guess interesting types of startups that you're hoping to see come out of this program?
Thanks, Matt. So to the first question, why Latin America? Well, certainly it's a significant region for us. We want to make global impact with the Alliance. So we need to demonstrate solutions in major hubs. We believe Brazil and Sao Paulo specifically represents one of those hubs, but our reach should be considered as across Latin America, South America, Central America. We hope that we can demonstrate these solutions that can be replicated and scaled. And we also know that within the population of Brazil itself, there's a significant portion of young people. And by inviting them to share their ideas, we hope to hear through their lens different ideas for business models, for technology innovations, and so forth. So specific items we're looking for is to help close what we call circularity gaps. We know there's a quantity gap that needs to be resolved. So we need to see better collection systems and more access to collection, stronger participation from society. We'd like to see improved separation and sortation systems. There's a quality gap in terms of use of the recycled material. And the example on building products and use of plastic waste in that regard, I think is fantastic. We want to see more of that. We also want to see some chemical recycling solutions that'll take the quality of the material back to its virgin-like state so we can use it in a broader range of applications. So those types of innovations that will drive more end markets, improve quality, but also help us align to solutions along the circularity continuum. We also know there's a alignment gap, and we recognize many solutions are needed. Edison talked about finding homes for the material. Let me be clear on one message, and that is plastic has value. We would like it back. We want to put it back into use again and use it over and over, and do so in a way that demonstrates responsibility, but also the business value of using the material again and again. So finally, the innovation that we expect from this hub, coming from the bright minds of Latin American folks, will help us in our global reach to demonstrate solutions to end plastic waste in the environment.
Thanks so much, Steve. And Daniel and Edison, I saw you guys nodding along to some of the points Steve was hitting on. Anything you'd like to add in terms of trends and things you're excited about seeing come out of this hub? Edison, I see you're off mute, so when you kick it off.
Yeah. No, I think Steve gave a lot of examples, and from my experience, probably we're going to be surprised with things that we have never thought about. But I think that the major fact that I would like to highlight on those initiatives is the concept, the way it flows from a startup. Normally, it's a simple initiative that you can test very rapidly, very fast, and then accelerate. So I think having this connection between those startups and the companies and the alliance, I think it's the great value of this initiative, because for sure, again, repeating myself, solutions will be very focused on the problems within the regions. I mean, and maybe I would say one of the advantages of Latin America is that, unfortunately, we have a variety of environments, right? I mean, if you go to big cities, you have very rich neighborhoods, but at the same time, you have very poor neighborhoods. So I would say the needs that we have, they are very different and very specific to tackle all the solutions that we need.
Yeah, Matt, I would say that, well, what we have been seeing in the in plug and play in the alliance, we have been focusing in a lot of areas that we see that they're replicable, like Edison mentioned, here in the region. And for example, collecting waste in the water, in the ocean, indeed, that's something needed. Getting information about what waste is sorted, what type of plastic is being collected, and actually being able to have better information for better decisions in the region for the waste management, trying to focus on where the waste management is failing, or how to improve the mechanical recycling, whether it's a process or it's an additive or something related into the sorting system. Those things are valuable. But I would also say that indeed, if we can focus in behavior, how to change the behavior of the final consumer into actually doing the act of separating its waste and adding that very important value of plastic waste, whether it's a washing or something that actually lets the plastic waste get back into the system. And what Steve mentioned, chemical recycling, we indeed kind of see that there's a very urgent need to actually put together all the possible technologies into adding the value into the product. So I would say, I think we have a lot of areas where startups can work with, where entrepreneurs can actually see the problems and actually focus on getting solutions, always focusing on something that it's trying to get the lowest possible value into place, so that we can actually put together the solutions into something that could add value into the market very easily. And I would say that.
Great. So I have a personal question for you all, and I'm going to say this in general, and then I'll call on all of you so you can kind of think about it. What got you guys so passionate and involved in sustainability? So Edison, I know we've talked about this before, so I know you're prepared on this one a little bit more. So Edison, I'll kick it off to you, but what was the reason behind you getting so involved and interested in working in sustainability in your company? Or just on a personal level?
So I'm happy to go first, Matt.
Oh, okay.
I'll separate my answer in twofold. The first, from a business standpoint, with a career at a large company like Procter & Gamble, where they use a lot of plastic materials, they teach a responsibility for proper recovery, proper end of life, and good solutions. And when that's instilled and backed up through a career worth of work and efforts, you see great value in that, in doing the right thing for the environment. On a personal note, just traveling around the world, I've had the benefit of doing that, to go to some of the most beautiful countries in the world, yet to be surrounded by litter in some situations, and to see in some areas of the world where we may benefit from proper recovery systems and a clean environment, to areas where recovery is lacking. And going in the ocean is something you don't necessarily look forward to, because there may be waste in there that shouldn't be there. So on a personal note, I'd like to think that the work that we are doing is helping us at the human level, but also supported by the business case to keep it going on and on. There's just so many reasons to feel passionate about this. I left my career a little bit early to do this. I'm happy to do so. I'm rewarded tenfold because I'm able to work in an area that I'm passionate about, surrounded by people like this, all fighting for a common cause. It just feels good.
Great, Steve. Well, maybe if I can follow Matt, I would say for me, I think working in a company that have been engaged with sustainability since the beginning, where we have the green plastics in our portfolio since 2010. We have been talking about circular economy without knowing it would be named like that, right? I mean, before, most of the chemical and the plastic companies have been doing that because before it was called circular. I would tell you that for me, the aha moment was 2017. And to be very honest, our view until that time was that, well, sustainability is something that is a responsibility of a corporate area, right? But the situation we lived with plastics, I would say the aha moment was, no, this should be part. This is not a corporate area that talks about sustainability. This should be part of the business strategy. If we don't do this, I mean, and if we don't match those two things into one, we will not survive. So I think for me, what creates me most passion about it is really to bring these concepts into the business and into the embedded strategy of the polyethylene, the polypropylene. I would say that the plastic resins that we work with. I think for me, this is the big change, right? I mean, and this is the responsibility that we have as a leading company in the region, and most of the companies in the alliance, they are leading a market, a segment, a region, or whatever. So, I mean, we have the obligation and the responsibility to do that. And considering these are my fine words, I would say every time we talk about this, I like to end up with an invitation. So for those who are watching us, even if they are not on the Plug and Play Hub in São Paulo participating on the effort, I would say please look to the Alliance, look to any of the member companies, but we should join efforts in this together.
I agree.
Well, I would say that for the side of Essentia, the company has in its DNA, it's part of its culture, always trying to do the best possible for whatever's in the context of the company. We're not just looking for profit per se, but actually trying to do profit without purpose of doing the good to whoever is around us. We do that with our clients. We do that with our providers. We do that with whoever works with us together in this process, and that would be a way of representing how when I don't know, the Sustainable Development Goals came out. For us, it was transparent that it was something that we have already been doing, and indeed we had to grow in some different areas, but we had to kind of say, well, we are part of this already, and we want to continue being part of it. And that's the way we have been doing. You can see that, for example, in that area of sustainability, in our bags we have stamped all the Sustainable Development Goals, and we are trying to teach that way to our clients, to the different markets, and to be able to talk about them. Because for us, it's not just a matter of a declaration, but it's a matter of what we live inside the company. And on the personal level, I would say that, well, I have been working with environmental issues and waste management for the last almost 20 years. And well, when I see the problem, and I know that we have to add hands into the solutions and be able to give whatever we feel that it's possible to the humanity or to our kids, or I would say that in my case, I always reflected to my son, which is a 9-year-old boy, always wanted to do something for the environment, very worried about it. And there I reflect myself and say, well, we are trying to move together. We should do this. We propose it that way, and bringing it together towards the business side, always trying to make the business sense, which is what we are always looking into it, and figuring out that sustainability is possible. It's a matter of how we make it possible, how we join forces, and that is how we live it right now in the company. I put my sense into the personal side of always trying to say, well, it may have been done already in a way that it wasn't profitable, but let's move it together in a way that it can make sense for the business somehow. And that is how we put it into place. And I'm very grateful about it, and of being there in the team of the circular economy, trying to build all those relationships that make this possible, and say, well, we are in the process of building sustainability with all the companies that are involved in this process.
Yeah. And I know for our CEO, Saeed Amidi, his passion really for sustainability really stemmed from his daughter, Sophie. So he's dedicating more and more of his time to building out a larger sustainability platform and getting more people involved and engaged, and just creating a larger impact. So I know we're about out of time, but Steve, I wanted to pass it to you for kind of the final comments for the audience on kind of a takeaway message for them from the Alliance as a whole. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Matt. What I'd like to share is, as projects are being developed and submitted, please consider the impact that they can make. Consider the timing of the impact, consider the economic viability of this, and importantly, consider how your program can be scaled and replicated. Those are some of the things that investors look for, not just a member company, not just the Alliance, but the investment community at large. There is money available for investment in this space. Please bring your novel ideas in, help us expand them such that we can make a very meaningful impact to end plastic waste in the environment. I also want to thank Plug and Play. You've been a fantastic partner for us with the Alliance. We look forward to this continuing, and we look forward to fantastic innovations coming out of the Sao Paulo hub. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yep.